In the earlier stages of this NBA offseason, we saw the Orlando Magic and the Memphis Grizzlies participate in a trade that got the entire NBA world clamoring, and that was the Orlando Magic sending 4 first-round draft picks, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Cole Anthony, to the Memphis Grizzlies in exchange for Desmond Bane. And when I finally got a chance to listen to what everyone was saying about this trade, listening to their opinions, I was shocked by the amount of people that wasn't a fan of this trade. And the one common denominator and everybody who wasn't liking the trade was that they kept saying that Desmond Bane was not worth the 4 first-round draft picks. And I don't know if people have been paying attention to the NBA the last couple of years, but when you're trading for players like Desmond Bane around the NBA, the price has gone up because these players are starting to matter more and more. When we see all this parity in the NBA, when we see over the last 7-8 years a different team has won the NBA championship, franchises are now doing anything to move that needle forward, because they know if you move that needle forward just a little bit, that could be enough to get you over the hump to an NBA championship. So when we see teams making trades for guys like Rudy Gobert, and they pay a very, very hefty price, and we know Rudy Gobert, he does have some good accolades under his belt. He has 3-4 Defensive Player of the Year awards, but Rudy Gobert, still with that under his belt, he's not considered one of the best players in the NBA. And he's a guy who can't even finish games at times for the Timberwolves. And then we also look at these guys like Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. The price is just going up for acquiring, these type of guys. So I don't blame the Orlando Magic for making that deal. And then I have so many different angles you can look at with this trade for why it makes just too much sense for me. The number one thing that I looked at is that the Orlando Magic, and this is addressing the 4 first-round draft picks, the type of season that they had, you would think that their season would end in turmoil. When we look at all the injuries that they had to go through, when I look at when I look at Jalen Suggs missing all those games, when I look at Paolo Banchero missing all those games, when I look at Franz Wagner missing all those games, when I look at Mo Wagner missing all those games, it's amazing to me that the Orlando Magic were still able to creep into the playoffs with some of their best players missing a huge chunk in the season. And the reason for that is that they have a really good head coach and Coach Mosley, and he has a really good system in play. The Orlando Magic, no matter who's on the ball court, they're going to be one of the better defensive teams, and they got a lot of ugly wins last season, a lot of wins that they had to grind for while their best players were recovering from injury, and it was enough to get them into the playoffs. So that's one thing right there I would have looked at if I'm the Orlando Magic. Well, I wouldn't be so pressed on the 4 first-round draft picks, because if we can't get down to the lottery standings after this type of season, that's probably never going to happen as long as we got Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner healthy, 2 super-duper young guys who has not been in the NBA for that long. Same thing with Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner, those guys were drafted in 2021, and Paolo Banchero was drafted in 2022. So they have a very, very young nucleus who is filled with a bunch of talent. So that's that right there. And then also we look at the fact that Desmond Bane is just what the Orlando Magic need. When we look at these guys in the Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner era, the one thing that they've been lacking is perimeter scoring and perimeter shooting for their guards. And that's another thing. They signed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to a healthy amount of money, and the way he performed this last season is not what the Orlando Magic were looking for. And he was supposed to be a guy that helped with those needs: perimeter scoring, 3-point shooting, especially off the last couple of years he had with the Denver Nuggets. We thought he was going to be able and step it up for the Orlando Magic, but that wasn't the case this past season. So they bring in a guy in Desmond Bane who that's exactly what he does. What the Orlando Magic need, that's exactly what he does. He's been a third option his entire career behind Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., and he's been able to find himself, find his game, find his spots, score the basketball to where he's averaging 18, 19, 20 points per game as a third option and in the Western Conference. And we all can agree that right now the Western Conference, they're the more competitive tough conference in the NBA. So Desmond Bane, he's going to be able to come to the Orlando Magic. He's going to be able to stretch that floor. He's going to be able to knock down three-point shots. And then also, more importantly, he's going to be able to take the basketball out of Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner hands, so those guys don't have to bring it up so much, initiate the offense at the top of the key so much, so it's not so easy to, trap and double team these guys, because he can also handle the basketball. He can score in isolation. He can run the pick and roll, and he can make reads and find guys. So it's just a great basketball fit. A great basketball fit for a great basketball fit for the Orlando Magic. And then just my biggest reason, or my favorite reason for the Orlando Magic making this trade, and I don't know why people was acting like we didn't see this coming. That the Eastern, if you guys been paying attention this all season, the Eastern Conference has collapsed. Like, the teams at the top of the conference, we have no idea what they're gonna look like next season. So I love the Orlando Magic. Like, they front office probably knew this as well. Seeing all those injuries that transpired in the NBA playoffs, they knew that this conference was about to look a lot weaker next year. So let's make a trade that's going to make our team better. We give up a guy that wasn't playing that well for us in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And I know Cole Anthony, he was a fan favorite in the Orlando Magic, a very solid player. And then they give up those 4 first-round draft picks, who we don't really know how valuable those picks would have been for the Orlando Magic. Because like I said, if they wasn't bad last season and they continue to be healthy over the years, we couldn't see the Orlando Magic being, anywhere near the bottom of the conference, to where those draft picks could actually help them and make their roster better. So, but looking at the Eastern Conference, looking at the state of the Eastern Conference, when we look at these teams that will be considered powerhouses in the Eastern Conference, when we look at the Milwaukee Bucks, they don't have they have Giannis Antetokounmpo, who says he's happy in Milwaukee, but they waived Damian Lillard. They brought in Miles Turner, but I don't think, looking at them right now, I don't think they're a better team than the Orlando Magic on paper. Most definitely not. When we look at the Boston Celtics have clean shot. And we all know that has a lot to do with that second apron, and also it has a lot to do with the injury of Jason Tatum. So Jason Tatum, he's not going to be there next season for the Boston Celtics. Kristaps Porzingis has been traded, and Drew Holiday has been traded. So the Boston Celtics, they're not going to have that elite starting five going into the next season. And right now, I most definitely like the Orlando Magic with Desmond Bane on paper better than the Boston Celtics. We look at a team like the Philadelphia 76ers, who I think look really, really nice on paper, but they have a huge question mark. Joel Embiid, that knee was pretty nasty next season. I'm not saying he's not going to come into this season to have a healthy season. What I'm saying is Joel Embiid, he has to come out and prove it to us. And even then, both teams fully healthy, I still love the way the Orlando Magic stack up against those guys. So, those are the teams in the Eastern Conference that's, been at the top over the last couple of years. We look at the Miami Heat. They're without Jimmy Butler now. We look at the Indiana Pacers. They have essentially lost 2 out of their 3 best players. When we look at them losing Miles Turner to free agency, and Tyrese Halliburton is going to be out for the season. So, like I said, the Orlando Magic, their front office, they must have saw this coming from the Eastern Conference. I thought it was obvious as well. But now looking at looking at the state of the Eastern Conference right now, the Orlando Magic, with the way that these players are developing, I think they're going to have a huge shot to get to the conference finals and even the NBA finals. And I don't think a lot of people understand how good Paolo Banchero is. I tell you guys every time I make an Orlando Magic video that I'm a huge fan of Paolo Banchero, because he just has some of the most unfair basketball intangibles, like his size. He's 6'10", 250 pounds, and he's all muscle. That sounds like a handful to deal with. And then also he's supremely athletic. He's supremely quick, and with that 6'10" frame, that 250 pound body, he has elite guard skills. He can break down anybody out on the perimeter. And then the biggest intangible that he probably has is his competitiveness. He's a huge competitor. I was lucky enough to hear some sounds of him mic'd up, and he be saying some very crazy things out on the basketball court. So he has a big competitive heart, and usually players like that, it takes them a long way on the basketball court. And then the Orlando Magic, they're just a very talented team. They got Jalen Suggs, who made the all-team all defensive team a couple of years ago who's a steady player on the offensive side of the ball. They have Franz Wagner, who's right now probably, a top 5 down the hill player in the NBA when it comes to getting downhill and finishing around the rim. There's not too many people that does it better than him. And just like Paolo Banchero, he stands at 6'10". So just having your 2 best players be, I don't even know what to call those 2 guys, because they can play from the wing, they can play from the top of the key, they can play in the post, they can play in transition. They have legit 2 unicorns on their team, and now they have a guy in Desmond Bane who, off the gravity of those 2 guys, just like playing alongside Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., they should be drawing so much gravity. He should be seeing a lot of open threes, and he's an efficient 3-point shooter. He doesn't just chuck them. He takes threes that are good shots, and that's why his 3-point percentage is so high. So I can't wait to see these boys hoop together. But I just want to relay this to you guys once again, because I don't think people are still understanding. I think this was an outstanding trade by the Orlando Magic. Not to mention Desmond Bane is just 26 years of age, so he has at least a solid another 4 or 5 years of basketball. And with the way these athletes are evolving, he might have another good 10 years of basketball left in him. But we say 5 just to be respectful, just to be humble. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment down below. Let me know how you feel about this trade a month later after seeing all the destruction that the Eastern Conference has gone through. And then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.